Welcome to the August 19th meeting of the Board of Health for the town of Harwich. As required by law, the town may audio or video record this meeting, and any person intending to either audio or video record this open session is required to inform the chair. Anybody planning on recording this evening? All right, well then, welcome everybody. First order of business is public comments. Any comments from the public?
And this would be on any agenda that are not on agenda items. So if there's an item on the agenda, you'll have a chance to comment on that when it comes up.
Barbara Nickerson, two things. We were here for the Sunday school hearing, and we see it's canceled. Is there another way, from what we understand, there's about 6 cars out there reading. Is there another way to let us know that something's been postponed, or I'm not saying you, I mean, anything in the town? I don't know if there's a way to do that.
So this was a last-minute notice for us as well. We discovered at the final hour that the abutters weren't notified.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm one of the abutters, and I was going to ask, what's the deal with that? I guess it must be their first rodeo, huh? Not.
So we will not be
Right.
hearing the 606 Route 28 tonight because there was not proper abutter notification. So
All
if
right.
anybody's here for that, it'll be on the next month's agenda, and you will receive notice from the applicant. So
Supposedly. Thank you, appreciate it.
you're welcome.
Any other comments from the public this evening? All right. Without anybody else speaking up, we will move on to the next order of business, which is the minutes from the previous meetings of June 17th and July 15th. On the June 17th meetings, anything from the board, any questions, concerns?
I make a move that we accept the meeting minutes from June 17, 2025.
Second.
Second and vote?
Aye.
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 All right. June 17th approved. Moving on to July 15th minutes. Same questions. Any comments, questions, concerns from the Board of Health? No, I don't have any either. Do we have a motion?
I have a motion to accept the minutes from the July 15, 2025 minutes for the Board of Health.
Second.
Vote?
Aye.
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 So just want to announce to the room again that 606 Route 28 is not going to be heard tonight because of improper abutter notification. And anybody who's in the audience, if you want to speak, just make sure you sign in at the back on any of the matters. Thank you.
All right. Well, we've accepted the minutes. With a couple late arrivals, I would like to just remind everybody again, if there's any desire to video or audio record this, please inform the chair. And also, with those late arrivals in mind, I would like to give you all the same opportunity if you have any public comments that are not on tonight's agenda and you would like to speak up. Anybody that just walked in have any public comments? No? All right,
So can I make a recommendation to the chair?
you may.
On the agenda, you do have proposed amendments for the dog-friendly space. And
One of the
variance.
first things I wrote down, if we're gonna talk about dog-friendly spaces and the first one that has been requested, and we're gonna be looking at what the qualifications for that are, we should be doing that first, in my opinion. All right. Can I just declare that, or do we need to make a motion on that? Sorry, it's my first time running this chair, folks. Been on the board for a while, but I gotta make sure where I stand. Thank you.
So I think you can ask the board if it's okay to rearrange the agenda, and if there's no objections, you can move
Any
to that item
objections
first.
to rearranging the dog permit discussion to before actually having the discussion with?
Nope.
Okay. Then let's switch this up. We are going to, we're going to revisit the proposed amendments to the dog-friendly space variance filing requirements.
So in your packets, you will find the draft that we had brought to the board for initial approval for dog-friendly spaces. There was a question on whether a butter notification would be required. We didn't feel a butter notification was necessary because it impacts the establishment and its patrons more than it impacts the surrounding businesses, but that is up for discussion on the board. I also brought you the City of Boston's process and the town of Tisbury on the islands. We reached out to all of the health agents as requested on the Cape to see what other Cape communities are doing, and Tisbury is the only one that responded to my email. So I don't know what other communities are doing. I know Orleans does have a process that we modeled ours after. So if you want to take another look at what we laid out for conditions of approval and the application itself for any modifications, that's what we're here to do tonight.
Okay. Many of you here, I mean, has this been put out, like, has anybody outside of the board or the health department had a chance to read any of this?
No?
Okay, that's step one. So,
Or I shouldn't say no. It was posted on the agenda both times and available to the public, so let me rephrase that. It's not like we didn't go to,
so filling in then.
Yeah.
A couple months ago, the Board of Health did adapt these variance requirements for what we saw as fit for restaurants wanting to have dogs in open spaces. If people haven't read it, there are quite a few key points. I'm going to read down the 12 key points here under the conditions of approval, just so everybody starts on the same page. So, first of all, the first one just says the following conditions shall be applied if the variance is approved. Starting, no preset tableware on tables in dog-friendly area. No food prep in dog-friendly areas. That's food, beverages, or ice. Dogs shall only be served water in an owner's bowl or a designated dog bowl. Designated dog bowls shall be cleaned and sanitized after every use. Waterless sanitizer shall be provided in dog-friendly areas. Designated trash cans and waste bags present for dog waste with self-closing lid, accessible to but away from diners or dining areas. Business owners shall be responsible for waste left behind from patrons not cleaning up after their dogs. Employees will have access to a kit equipped with everything needed for cleaning materials, including waste scoops. There will be no dog employee contact, immediate hand washing if employee contact is made with the dog. Proper sanitizing of the area immediately afterwards, including tables and chairs, should be getting done at every restaurant regardless of who's sitting at the table anyway. Failure to comply with these requirements and the approval will result in revocation of the variance as deemed appropriate by the health department staff. And there shall be a sign up posted with the following statements. Being a dog-friendly zone. Dogs must be under control at all times of the owner. Dogs must be housebroken. Dogs leashed at all times, not fastened to a table, no retractable leashes. No dogs allowed on chairs, benches, tables, etc. Dogs must stay in owner's immediate area, out of walkways, and away from other patrons' tables. So that was what was accepted a couple of months ago. And then we had the first request come in for Perks Coffee. And at the first meeting where we accepted it, we had stated that it was going to require a butters notice, which was then kind of later seen as maybe not quite so necessary, and I still don't really believe it is. I'm under the same, agreement with Carrie. That's, it's not really the abutters who are taking on any of the risk with this. But That being said, there was a comment made last week about keeping it the same and fair for everybody. So we did bring this back for discussion. Does anybody here on the board have anything that they'd like to change on the guidelines for variance approval?
I just
Or
want,
any
do we want to open it
suggestions?
to them first before we comment?
I would have gotten there, but we can.
I'd be curious to hear what some of the other people think before. It
Well-
might change our minds.
We were the ones who decided to bring this back. I voted against it. So what do you guys want to change while we're up here?
All right. You want to start down here?
I'd like to hear the comment from most of the people here.
I would agree with that.
All right. So let's hear some comments from the public then. Come on out.
And just remember, if you're going to speak, to state your name.
Hi, I'm Marguerite Heffernan. Do I need my address?
No.
too? I'm concerned because I don't have allergies to all dogs. But what happens to patrons? Like, I've gone to doctor's offices where they're not even allowed to bring in their aid dogs because there's people in there that are allergic to the saliva of dogs. So some dogs pant, as we all know. And what's going to happen to the germs?
They're going to be outside.
So none of these animals are going to be allowed in the restaurant?
Nope,
It's
never.
only outdoor?
Outdoor only.
Okay.
I want to hear, because I've been asking friends, neighbors, people all month. So please, if we're here to talk about this, let's, people step up.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Tivnan, dog owner, patron of Perks Coffee Shop. And I've been there on many, many occasions where there have been dogs present. They've all been very well under control, leashed, behaving properly. I've never seen an issue. And as far as the comment about neighbors and whatnot, I agree. The business is really taking all the risk of having the dogs there. And as far as your comment goes, they indicated that you'd have to have signs posted, notifying people that this is a dog-friendly area. So certainly if someone has an allergy or whatnot, they're going to be able to see the sign, they're going to be able to see that animals are present and can certainly make
And my
an educated
wife's allergic to
decision.
cats, so I get it. It's only reasonable, yeah. I get-
Some dogs, I'm a dog lover, but I know some dogs can set off my allergies.
Yeah, and I know this is a general guideline for all establishments, but in this particular situation, it's a very open area, very visible. You can, see what's going on. There's plenty of space to keep your dog contained. So, that's it.
And also, just to add, thank you. Federal food, this was changed federally in 2022, allowing non-service animals into restaurants. So that's a federal regulation. And in Massachusetts, it requires approval and variance from the Board of Health. So that's why we're here. So right now, this is really just to discuss what you, the town, would like to see as the variance requests. And so, anybody else got something to add? Please.
Just further for the record too, if there isn't a current dog-friendly sign posted at a restaurant, they shouldn't have dogs in any portion unless it's a service animal at this point in time.
Hi, my name is Bob Young. My address is 1006 Route 28 and also 703 Main Street here in Harwich Center. I own the Seal Pub and Cafe with two other partners, and we each have dogs. So I'm curious why this board feels it has to be a variance and not a rule change with some of your items there, which in my view seem very restrictive because we get so many tourists that come in and that they don't know the rules of this town. And so they want to, and if they bring a service animal in there, it's up to me as the business owner to go out there and ask them for proof that it's a service animal. That's what happened during the pandemic too. You guys put it all on the business owners, that we were the ones that had to police. We were the ones that were responsible. Of course we keep things clean. We're meticulous about that. We have our rags and stuff that we keep clean, and water, bleach water. We get inspected by the Board of Health, the health department all the time, and we always pass. And so we keep our place as clean as possible. That's one of the things we're really for. And I kind of feel like it's a little insulting for the Board of Health to be up here saying that we wouldn't take care of our restaurant by having dogs there. Tourists come from all over the place. They'll kind of bring small dogs in. One of a woman recently had a service animal with kind of large, and I went up and sort of nosed around about it. But I can't ask about their disability. That's not legal for me to do it, and it's offensive. And so I think you guys are not even thinking in that sort of way. You're coming out rules, and you're going to do this, you're going to do that, which is, people already understand. My staff is very well trained. We go through a TIPS program. We go through health programs all the time. Give us a little bit of credit. Give Perks a little bit of credit for running their business the way they do. So when you guys are all sitting up here, and I'm on the Water Commission, so I understand these boards, and I know what you're going through chairing a meeting. But flip it a little bit and look at the other side, and look at some of these rules are duplicitous. I don't think they really apply, and give these businesses some credit. Thank you.
So it is the state sanitary food code that gives us the requirement for the variance filing to approve dog-friendly spaces. So the state of Massachusetts makes it a variance filing. Well, just educating to let you know what gives us the authority. That's what gives us the authority to make it a variance process.
I was asking why you wanted to do that.
Because it's the requirement of the state regulations.
Okay.
So that's why it's a formal variance filing.
Did the other towns do that, a variance with the state, or is it?
That's the state mandates that organizations, businesses have to put in a variance request to the Board of Health of the town of Harwich.
So if you go to the city of Boston, if you operate your business in the city of Boston, you have to have a formal variance filing. They might not be public hearings like ours, but they do have their process for it, that it has to be approved by the health department. So the other communities that are in, the two communities that I've reached out to on the Cape also have a variance filing for their process as well.
And how many variances have been granted?
In other communities, I am not sure. I can't answer that question. I didn't ask them that.
Do you think that'd be pertinent to these proceedings?
No, I think what they're willing to approve and what we're willing to approve, and as far as the service animals, you can ask that owner if it is a service animal and what service they provide. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Those are the only two questions that you are allowed to ask. Is this a service animal and what service does it apply? You can't ask about their disability, but you can ask what service it provides.
Well, in the restaurant business, and you get into that type of discussion, offense has been taken.
Yep, and I don't disagree with you there,
Okay.
that it can be a very delicate,
Testimony of
but
somebody
those are
that's on
the,
front lines of this.
legally, those are the two questions you're allowed to ask. But I understand the sensitivity that a lot of people feel answering those.
I don't feel comfortable with that legal opinion that you just stated.
No, I can understand why.
Interpretation.
I can understand why, but you do have the legal right to ask those questions.
And then the diners get up and leave.
Well,
So then they don't like Harwich because of all the stringent rules that go on when they just simply wanted a meeting with.
So if you want to speak up to the podium, please.
Never mind.
Hello, Rebecca Boyer. I just wanted to simply say that I think that the Parks establishment is very responsible. I think that anytime they've been there, that even when people, previously I know were here talking about this variance and how that might affect how things change, clearly maybe the public, as stated, and other people, aren't clear on what the code rule was prior. But when I have been there and there have been dogs, people are responsible. Nobody has gotten out of hand. I've not seen anybody not be able to manage their dog. I think, you know, a responsible owner would take their dog out of an establishment if they weren't operating appropriately. You know, so I would definitely support having, you know, been there frequently, that they, not only Perks, but other establishments are allowed to have dogs. And I think just like a variance, there are many variances to codes. I work in architecture, codes are the land of the law. Lots of times you have to settle on an approach, and then people can apply for variances to hope that they can satisfy the requirement in another way. I think very much in line with those comments about, you know, why we have them or not. There are ways that you can manage that. Allow for a one-time offense. You get your license taken away. Have to apply every year. You know, something where you can manage and mitigate what the reaction to, and test something out. Doesn't mean it can't change later. It can always change later. There can be more discussion on this topic. But I do support businesses around Harwich having the ability to bring dogs. And I think that there are other businesses that are taking advantage of this right now as well to benefit them that maybe came last time and were a little bit of against this monetarily, which I think is really petty. So I think not everybody in the community is necessarily going to agree with this, but like I said, I think there should be the opportunity for people to show that they can be good business owners and good community partners. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'm online. Hi, it's Cindy Williams, Executive Director of the Harwich Chamber. Just a few things that, I'm sorry I can't be there with you tonight, but I did want to hop on. Our community is extremely pet friendly. I can't tell you how many dogs stroll in with their owners on a daily basis to the chamber to get their information about town, etc. We have a water bowl out front, we have dog treats inside. I think what we need to do here, and I brought this up at one of the meetings, put together, this is a first time, there aren't many other towns around that are doing this quite yet, but I think if we give the guidelines to our businesses and try it, we're almost to the end of some of the businesses' seasons, but our owners that are residents and visitors alike are owners of pets, and they would like to stroll around our community and maybe stop for coffee or whatever at one of the outdoor businesses that do allow or are able to allow a pet-friendly area in their establishment. So I would like to see how we can all work together to make this happen. And as the previous speaker said, it can be like all of the other licenses businesses have to do, apply every year and go from there.
Fair enough, but we don't even have to apply every year. You're applying for the one-time variance. If it's granted, you don't have to apply every year. I generally feel like what everybody would like to see happen, and I'll get to you in a minute, sir, is what we really tried to set up a couple of months ago. And under the guidelines that we already stated, and yes, sir, some of those for responsible restaurant owners are redundant, absolutely. I would expect most of those are probably being met by the majority of the restaurants around here on Cape Cod, particularly in Harwich, already without us even having to post that. But we got to come up with some kind of guidelines for the variance request, so that's what we did. But I hear you loud and clear. Been in the restaurant business myself growing up here on Cape Cod. I don't think many of us did, at least one summer. You know, I worked at the Evtide and Dennisport. So I hear you loud and clear, and I come to your place, it's always been clean, love it. So, I mean, heard. Yes, sir.
Hi, Bob Nickerson. I actually came here for Sunday school, but I have 3 Labradors, so I kind of want to sit in and see what's going on. So, and they aren't going to a restaurant, because 3 Labradors in a restaurant would be a little bit overboard. But I'm up here because I think the reason that abutters should be notified, and the reason is because the dogs are sitting there, they leave, then they have to do their business. Who gets stuck with it? So maybe you have to have some kind of follow-up, because, I mean, nobody's going to follow the dog down, but it's really unfair to abutters if they start to become the place where they do their business. That's my only concern. So other than that, I have no other input.
Okay. Shouldn't be done there, and the responsibility falls on the restaurant owner. That is stated in the regulations that we proposed.
Okay, good. Thank you.
All right.
I'm Garrett Peterson, and I'm the man who is wearing a cat shirt advocating for dogs. I wish that we were here advocating for a cat-friendly restaurant, but I think that we all know that that would be some sort of nightmare. However, I am speaking in support of this and in support of Perks and what they've been doing for the community. And I know as well that, you know, both residents and tourists are bringing dogs everywhere in Harwichport and Harwich, walking around. And there aren't a lot of places to be able to wander into and sit down with a dog and, you know, be able to enjoy the outside in the nice summer weather. I think that the regulations that are being put forth here seem reasonable. Like other people said, there has to be some sort of regulations to be able to do this. This all seems extremely reasonable. And when it comes to abutter notifications, you know, having read through the packet, and it doesn't seem like that is legally required top to bottom. I know there was a FDA notice in there and a few other things. You know, however, I think it's on the business owner themselves and their own premises. So just to reiterate that, you know, I am in support of being able to have a dog variance in Harwich.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to comment on this subject?
My name is Elizabeth Dolan, and I'm a proud dog owner and have been going to Perks with my puppy since he first got his shots. And I just wanted to speak in support and thank Perks for giving us a place to train my dog to become a therapy dog and be able to support a local business, visit with my friends and family, and then also train him to visitors, to people walking up, to distractions and ignoring those. So just wanted to say thank you to Perks and show support.
Going once, going twice. All right. I think we've heard enough discussion on it. I want to point out a couple things. There was, one comment was made about trying to get everybody to agree on it. I don't think there's anything we could sit up here and discuss for eons on end and get the entire town to agree on. People are too different. Let's just start there. But, and there's always going to be people that don't agree. I don't feel like there are really any of them here tonight. As far as I am concerned, you know, the restaurant owner in applying for these variances is taking on that risk that there may or may not be people that have frequented their restaurant that are now going to choose not to if they allow dogs in. And I'm pretty sure every restaurant owner that would put in for a variance request has taken that into account. The other point I wanted to make, just to clarify, I believe it was you, Cindy, who 2 months ago, with the abutter notification, wanting to keep it the same for everybody. I don't think it's necessary. And at this point, the only variance request we're looking at is Perks. So Perks, you guys care if we take the abutter notification off of this? You did.
They did it.
Thank you. In the future, to keep it fair to you, since you're the only ones who have thus far applied, to keep it the same for everybody and in all sense of fairness, you don't mind taking that off the request officially?
And if you can just get up to the, if you can get up to the microphone, if you can just get up to the microphone and state your name and just say that while you're addressing them,
Yep,
yes.
come on up, please.
And Kevin, while they're walking up to the
One of
mic,
you. One
thank
of
you. Everything needs to be fair.
Absolutely. But I felt that was a fair way to handle it.
Sarah Powell,
So-
Perks. Yeah, we don't mind. That's cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
But
All
we
right.
did get them. We got them.
And I appreciate you coming in with
Went
those.
back home to pick them up because we left them at home. And he's like,
Okay. discussion. The one question I had, or really wanted to view out, was the abutter notification. Thank you to Perks for clearing up that you would not feel slighted if that wasn't necessary. Does anybody have any other proposed changes to the recommendations that
Down there?
we had put forth? Anything else to add?
I do. Okay. First of all, the Board of Health is here for health reasons, all right? That's what we need to be looking at. That's our major focus. Having said that, I'm not a pet owner, but I don't dislike them. You made the comment that people should feel comfortable being able to bring their pets where they go to eat, on the outside. I'm just going to flip the question around. What about the people that don't particularly care to have their pets sniffing at their ankles or carrying on? Do they have any rights? All right? Yes, yes, you're agreeing with that. Now, you said, you don't feel as though we needed some sort of guidelines, and you kind of felt insulted with that. You may be able to keep your employees under control, but not everyone, maybe every establishment is like that. So if we are going to have this, then I think we do need some regulations as to what's going to be acceptable and what is not going to be acceptable. All right? Having said that, the other thing that, and you kind of mentioned this, is you didn't feel that as the owner, it should be your responsibility. And I take a different outlook on that. As the owner, I would say you are responsible. The buck stops there. That your employees would be able to handle a situation if there is a disruptive animal, dog, there'll be the only ones, that they would be comfortable going up to the person and saying, I'm sorry, this isn't going to be allowed. So that is going to be, in my opinion, the owner's responsibility. You need to be able to say to your employees, you need to do this if it happens. All right? That's the one thing. Now, looking at Perks, and I have nothing against Perks, so I'm just, this is strictly an observation, and I think part of being on a...
Sharon, when we get to Perks discussion, we can talk about Perks further in detail.
Okay, all right.
Brought up that
This
they
is
have,
the
we're not looking
regulations.
at the specifics of
All right,
their
we'll-
application yet.
All right. But again, when we talk about the regulations, I do think we do need them if we're going to go through with this. And I think the owners, and I would request, if we do have this, that in the thing that we have for the town of Harwich and what's required, in bold and number 1, is that the owner is responsible, that their employees are well-trained and know that it is their responsibility to handle a situation if it rises, because you as the owner will not be there all the time. So I think if we're going to do that, I think that would be one of the conditions that I would feel that would be necessary. But I think, again, let's take a look at, how do the other people feel? Yes, there's a lot of people with pets, but there's a lot of people without pets. And I don't dislike them. But I don't particularly care, and I've been in situations where somebody's got a pet, and you're sitting there, and they're coming up sniffing at your legs or whatever. No, I don't agree with that. So I think when you say, people should be allowed their pets, you got to take into consideration for the people that aren't necessarily pet lovers or don't particularly care to have the pet sniffing around them. So there's two sides of this. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I think it needs to be controlled if it does. Anything? That was it.
All right. Well, I mean, it's already in under the dog-friendly zone. Thinks that must be posted, that dogs must stay within the owner's immediate area, out of walkways and away from other patrons' tables. So I think the fact that we can revoke the restaurant owner's variance and not allow dogs, I think speaks in itself that the owner is responsible for making sure these are followed through on.
The reason I'm going to disagree with that is and I'm not going to go back into a lot of history, but there were incidences, and this was more with the Board of Selectmen, where people would come back and say, well, well, I told my employee that they should know to do this or that or the other thing. No, you are responsible to make sure that they do, not come back and say, well, I thought they were all trained, or I thought they all knew. That's why I'm saying that, yes, as the owner, that owner is responsible, that's the way I feel, to make sure that their employees know how to handle these situations if they arise. And I'm going to be sure there's going to be some people, you're going to hire a high school kid or a kid in college. They're not going to feel comfortable walking up and saying, I'm sorry, mister, your dog isn't behaving. You're going to have to either take the dog out or leave. What I'm saying is that owner of that establishment is responsible to make sure that those employees know that they must be able to do that. And that's the way I feel. So, yeah, I think that's the owner's responsibility.
So you could add a
I
condition.
don't disagree. I think we could put it in writing to make it blatantly obvious. I mean, I feel like it's kind of taken into account, but we can add it as.
Assume anything. I think it needs to be stated. If we're going to say that, we need to state it, and it needs to be in writing.
You could add the condition that it's owner's responsibility that staff be trained to handle a disruptive dog or patron.
Yeah.
And that they have a policy if they have to ask somebody to leave, how are they going to accommodate that person that's dining? Do they pack up their stuff and go? I mean, in the summer, you don't want to ask the dog to leave and go sit in a hot car, because that's not good for the dog either. So there's got to be some kind of thought process into what the policy is going to be for that establishment.
I also have.
Aren't we setting the policy?
I also have a question. Is there a limit to the amount of dogs that someone can bring? I can picture a dog walker, having 3 little dogs. I mean, is there anything in the verbiage about the amount of dogs?
Not currently.
And I think that could, something that I would consider to be something that would be important.
All right. I mean, I think the amount of dogs, and I hear you, somebody could have 3 small dogs, 1 big dog. 1 big dog can be more disruptive than 3 small dogs. So I think I would be willing to addend something to say that it is the restaurant owner's responsibility to make sure that staff is properly trained to handle the situations. But I think as far as limiting the number of dogs, I think that should in general fall under is the dog being disruptive? I think if we set a number, 1, 2, or whatever, I think that might be overstepping, where it can absolutely be handled in the sense that, okay, are these 3 dogs all sitting at the owner's feet and being respectful and responsible? I don't think that should be a problem. Same thing if it's 1, Burmese mountain dog that weighs 150 pounds. If they're sitting down, they could get in the way far easily more than, 3 Shih Tzus. But I mean, so that I think, again, falls under the owner's responsibility, and I think that's covered there, and I'd be willing to add in some verbiage on, clearly stating that it is the restaurant owner's responsibility to make sure that staff is trained.
Do we want to vote on that?
Well, somebody would make a motion as to accepting this as printed
With the
or
additional
modifications.
condition, yeah.
And I just want to note that this version that is in front of you does not have the abutters notification required on it, so you could approve it as printed or add that back in, make whatever modifications to this you want, and we can revise it based on those recommendations and move forward with the hearing that's in front of us tonight.
So, I don't know, does the clerk want to make that motion?
Well, I just want to say now, did we decide that we don't need to have abutters notified?
Yep.
Okay, so that doesn't have to be part of the.
Nope, and it's not in here as this is written
That's
now.
what- Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, are we gonna go for a vote first?
I
Well,
think
we need somebody to make a motion. Anybody can make a motion with whether they want to accept this as printed or accept it with any modifications.
Genuine question, and I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Can the chair make the motion at this point, or do I have to have somebody else make it? Just because I
Never
think I
been
know
asked
what
that
needs to be.
question,
Yeah, right,
so
okay.
No, I can't. It
Um,
would be, I think it would be good if somebody else made the motion, or you can make a suggested motion, and somebody can say so moved.
I'll make a motion that
Okay.
we accept this, variance approval by the Board of Health for dog-friendly outdoor dining areas,
With-
adding that the owners are responsible to train staff on how to handle a dog that is not behaving appropriately.
That's beautifully stated.
Right.
Second.
Vote?
Aye.
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 All right.
Okay, all right.
Thanks for the discussion, everybody. I've been asking people on the street. All right. So now we are moving up to old unfinished business, which is specifically perks.
So if you want to just read the agenda to open the hearing.
Right. As continued from June 17, 2025 Board of Health meeting, pending a butter notification, which at that time hadn't been given. We are revisiting the variance request for dog-friendly space at 545 Route 28, Perks Coffee Shop and Beer Garden. Hello. I know that the proper butter notification has been given. Thank you for that.
Yep.
You had something that you wanted to discuss specifically.
Yes, I do. Nothing about perks, so I don't take this personally, all right? But I was looking at the layout, and I'm not knowing how many people you're liable to have with dogs at one time, but I'm looking at what to me looks like a very small area of where the dogs can go to relieve themselves. So I had 2 points on that. One is that it seems to be very small. My other question is, and I can't tell from this, is this in sight range of people that are sitting there eating? And the reason I'm asking that is, I don't know that I would enjoy being out eating lunch or dinner and having some dog taking a dump right where I can see it. So what is the, when I look, I'm not good at looking at drawings. So what in relationship to where these people are sitting and eating is that area, the areas that you're showing in the pictures?
We have a landscaped area. First off, Taylor Powell, owner of Perks, my wife, Sarah
Sarah.
Powell, we own Perks together. We won the Garden Club Award one year, and in our garden, if you will, was the dog relief area. But to comment on the dog relief, I'm glad you brought it up. It's been very hard to regulate if a person has a service dog or if it's a pet, and we've done our best to do so. And it's just tough on looking at, this percentage of dog owners in this country. It's about 40% or more. So we're here before you to go for this variance, obviously, because we don't want to we want the whole, I'm getting to it, honey. That we don't want to have the people that have dogs not be allowed. They should be allowed just like the person that.
Just to that question.
It's about 20 feet away. But to my point, with the dogs we've had there in the
I know
past,
this is where he's going.
whether they've been service dogs or people that have brought dogs in that we haven't asked them if they were service, whatever the case may have been, we've never had a dog relieve itself, ever in 15 years.
Most of the owner, there's plenty of space.
Yeah, we've never had an issue. We've never had a dog defecate there or pee or anything. Most people that have their dogs that go out in public or responsible dog owners. They have poop bags with them. The dog already did its business at home or wherever
Yeah.
they may have been. They've picked it up, they've thrown it away at a public trash. We've never had an issue whatsoever with that.
I just want to make one comment there, because this seems always to be slanted like, oh, we want to make it friendly for all the people that have pets. All right? And nobody ever thinks about the other people.
But those are the people that are always thought about, right? So we, as business owners,
No, wait,
understand that we might lose business because of this.
Yes.
Maybe you, I don't know if you've been to Perks, I don't know if you'd like it, you probably would like it, but maybe you would see that, ugh, they're dog-friendly and it's not my cup of tea, so maybe you wouldn't go there. And we understand that, but for us, it's important that people are able to allow dogs who a lot of people see now as members of their family. It was hard for us to get pregnant. It took us a long time. And for a long time, my dogs were what brought me comfort. And I could bring them out to a restaurant and I felt like maybe a little more normal. Like maybe not everybody's wondering, you know, why doesn't she have kids? Because her dogs are there. So, you know, maybe someone who doesn't like dogs won't come. But maybe somebody like me and someone else will come.
Well, and I
know you talked about health, so for me, that's mental health.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know,
just saying,
it's
you
not
know,
just-
you have
it's
to
not
think
just
about
about-
the other people, too.
We do, we think about them every day, they're our customers, we think about everybody.
Right.
We, you know, and we would want it to be as comfortable as possible for the people who don't enjoy pets, and that's why these rules and regulations have been laid out. I think they're pretty good, honestly. I thought that they were, you know, like, yeah, that makes sense, that's what we do anyway. I think we're the perfect blueprint for it, we're the perfect example. If it doesn't work at Perks, then you know what, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Because we have the perfect patio for it.
Just a quick question, is there an area that you could
Yes.
like maybe move some tables away from on the patio and kind of fence in to make it so it's not so visible, like right up against your building?
The like defecation area?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Totally. Or we could put some like little hedges in front of it. We can do whatever.
Whatever you'd like.
Yeah.
We're
That's
here
not
to-
a
we're here
problem.
to
Yeah,
work with you
yeah,
guys.
whatever. We could put some little, cute little, you know, absolutely.
Just because I understand the concern
Yeah, I
too
do too.
about
I get, trust me, I'm
using
like,
your
why do we
lunch
even
while
need?
you're-
I'm
and
like, why
this
do we
is right
even
up
need
against
this?
the
Nobody
building,
lets their
so-
dogs go to the bathroom here. They're gonna take them out to the, you know, the grass and pick it up. But yeah, we can, whatever you guys want, whatever makes you feel comfortable.
And it's great that you haven't had an issue yet, but you can't guarantee that an issue
100%.
won't happen in the
You
future.
know, we
So
have
we
issues
just
with-
want you to be prepared and equipped and for your
100%.
patrons to be comfortable.
Well, and I like the training idea, and I actually think the training shouldn't even just be if a dog gets out of hand. We should actually do a full training with our staff, how to handle pets, you know, in general, and the washing of the bowls and the sanitizing, and I think it should be a full pet training. Just
I
like
like
we
that
do
idea.
alcohol training, and we train for everything else, so.
In our business, we talk to our staff nonstop, like we have meetings every day.
We have some staff members here.
We have staff members here, one of our managers is here. I mean, we're in constant communication, it's not like someone's left out of the loop on what's going on. So if there's a change to be made, they're gonna be first to know, they're gonna be informed, they're gonna be trained well.
Yeah, I mean, we do music
we take-
training, we do alcohol training.
We take
do
pride in
pet
what we
training.
do, and we'd like to do that. I mean, this is a federal code that's changed. And now the board sent us an email that we were to be before you tonight. I mean, this is an option, we can pursue this. We tried to pursue it, and some people stopped us. We're here again. We're just asking for a chance. If it falls on us, you
Yeah.
can take it away.
Exactly, if
But-
it doesn't work out.
As my wife said, like, there is probably no other perfect place to start this and try this. We have a full outdoor patio, we're all outside.
I mean, we're paper service, we don't even have, we're counter service and paper service.
Okay.
And as far as other people, I mean, is Attorney Dina Brown here? Anywhere online?
She took the night off.
Anybody that she was representing 2 months ago here online that wants to speak up now? They're not here.
Well, they got their butter.
Yep, as far as I'm concerned about that. I think if we wanted to specify having hedges or something up to block off the dog relief area before we approved it, would have been the time to do that. That would have been the time to discuss that in the regulations. If you guys be willing to do so.
Yeah, we're happy to.
Thanks. great.
Not a
But
problem.
I don't feel that we need to require that of them.
That wasn't my idea.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't. I just brought up the fact, would you,
We brought it up with it being right next to the building and not
Okay.
feeling like it was the ideal location for. But if the board wanted to approve it with a relief area that's satisfactory to health department staff, and you're comfortable with us reviewing that with them, and if they are aggrieved by whatever they ask, they can come back in front of you and say,
So we could include that as a condition of the variance,
Yes, that-
stating that the dog relief area should be approved by the health department?
Mhm.
Beautiful. Any,
Yes. You have a beer garden also, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Are dogs allowed, do you want the dogs allowed there too for the beer
all
It's
garden?
all the
same.
same thing. It's just the business, it's a coffee shop and beer garden, so it's really both. It's just one patio.
Started as a coffee shop.
Is it pretty crowded in the beer garden?
It depends on the time of day or not.
Maybe at night, but typically you wouldn't see dogs in there at night. It's more of a morning coffee type crowd. You know, people are walking around, getting a coffee.
How many dogs are in there usually? How many dogs can you contain, so to speak?
We don't know because we don't allow dogs.
Okay.
and this is all, will be all a trial. I mean, this is something that if it starts to become a problem and we start to get frequent calls and complaints, we can have the conversation, see what we can do to make any necessary adjustments, bring the discussion back in front of the board, and the way your policy is written is that health department staff has the ability to stop. They don't have to be called in front of the board. If we feel like it's becoming an issue, we can stop it. And again, if they're aggrieved with our decision, they can request
a hearing?
a hearing in front of you, so.
Anybody else?
all right.
Okay.
We,
Make a motion?
any
anybody?
motions?
Is the clerk?
Anybody can make, I know you're used to being chair and not making the motions, but if you
know,
want
I
to make a
know.
motion, you can make a motion, Sharon.
I always made the clerk do it.
The only reason I paused is because I've been watching you not do it for years. so-
I make a motion that we accept Perks, yeah.
Variance for
proposal,
dog-friendly.
The variances for the dog-friendly area.
With the variance.
With the conditions
With the
that
variance,
are
yes.
outlined in the
Yes,
approval.
yes.
Second.
Vote. Oh,
Second.
Vote, yeah. Aye.
aye.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for your patience with our new process.
I'm stuck on the
Really
chair.
appreciate your patience and working with us
Yeah,
on that one.
no, thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. We'll do you proud.
All right, so Sunday school, 606 through 28,
We are not hearing.
not hearing because abutters were not notified. So we are moving on to 8 Lakeway Lane.
I mean, there's
Variance request from Title V.
relationship with the pool.
8 Lakeway Lane, seeking relief from nitrogen loading limitations of 440 gallons per day restriction.
Good evening.
Hello?
Just state your name and
Oh.
give a little introduction to why you're here.
Sure. So Benjamin Warshaw, I am the homeowner at 8 Lakeway Lane. I've been a full-time resident of Harwich for a little over 5 years now, in this house for 4 years. It, in my opinion at least, is a beautiful home. It's about 2,100 square feet. It is currently a 1-bedroom, 2-bathroom with a 3rd bathroom that's been previously discussed and postponed until there's funds to do that project. But what I'm asking for today is for the Board of Health to remove, or I guess for a variance to ultimately remove the deed restriction that limits my house to 1 bedroom. I'm on a quarter of an acre lot, like most houses, or many houses at least in Harwich that were built before Title V that are 3-bedroom, 2-bath. I'm asking to be treated the same way that other single-family homes are in this town. I am taxed the same way as other single-family homes. An additional bedroom count would not change my tax assessment. However, it would allow me to enjoy all the privileges that come along with homeownership, such as being able to sell at my discretion, to rent, to have it rented and managed, all things that are currently not really possible under the current conditions. Of course, I'm free to sell, but I've done quite a bit of research the last few years. I've spoken to multiple rental management companies when I was considering a job offer out of state, not wanting to sell the house. Not a single rental management company would take on the house in great rentable condition because of the bedroom count. When I attempted to sell the property, there were 14 open houses in 7 weeks. Not a single offer because of this one bedroom issue. This doesn't affect most of the town, and so that's what I'm here today to ask. You have my application in front of you, and happy to answer any questions.
So just a little background on this. If this request was brought to me a year ago, I would not entertain the idea. Through the discussions with Mr. Warshaw in the state had informed us that we can vary any section of the code, including this restriction. It didn't make sense to me because what was the point of having the restriction in the first place if you could vary from it? There also is a workaround for purchasing of credit land, which other property owners have done. Obviously, land is getting harder and harder to find. My concern is, where do we draw the line? What is the cap? So if you give one person in this area a bedroom, how do you control it? And I think the only control mechanism that you have for this scenario is to limit it to the 1 bedrooms and allow them 2 bedrooms because they were required to design for 2 bedrooms because you cannot have a 1-bedroom septic system. So it would be a limited amount of properties that would be impacted and a limited amount of bedroom increase. So that would be my recommendation if you felt you wanted to entertain the idea of the request for relief, but I would put some kind of cap on it because without that cap, there is no point of having the restriction.
To, I guess, respond to that as well, I think having a cap is completely reasonable. I think there is definitely, there needs to be a line drawn, and I think, this is a perfect scenario to draw that line and set a bit of a precedent. Title V specifies in multiple places within the code that, a single-family home is assumed to be 3 bedrooms in multiple places in this code. It is mentioned a few times in the code that it can be a 2-bedroom home if a smaller system is designed for that. But the general definition of a single-family home is 3 bedrooms. I think I look at this as bringing properties that are below the standard up to the standard line. If you have 3 bedrooms, well, you already meet the definition of a single-family home that is capable of holding a family.
All right, but your septic system?
My septic was built for 2 bedrooms.
2 bedrooms.
2 bedrooms. It was pointed out to me that there is considerable space. There was a reserve space built that it would have room to expand it up to what's needed for a 3-bedroom, but that's also restricted by this rule. My property is located in Phase 3A, so I will be on sewer in the very near future, which, from my understanding, would eliminate the need for any sort of nitrogen restrictions because there would be no nitrogen load.
So that's not entirely true either, because the goal of the sewer plan is to reduce nitrogen in the town. And so while we take the nitrogen away from Harwich, we don't have a plant here in town. It goes to Chatham. So we have to work within the scope of what we're allowed to distribute to Chatham as well. So it doesn't remove nitrogen, it puts it somewhere else. So when we take it, it still goes into the ground somewhere. It's just no longer in a water recharge area, because you can't have a treatment facility in a water recharge area.
Now, I could look at a two-bedroom, but not three, because you only have a septic system for two.
When the time comes that he would get hooked up to septic,
To sewer.
the sewer, what would be the allowed
He's-
bedrooms?
He'd still be capped.
It would still be
Yeah,
capped
so we
based
have
on
the sewer use regulations that restrict it in a number of ways. Right now, it says that it has to comply with current Title V regulations, which this would still fall, the restriction would still fall under the regulation. We also have the IMA with the town of Chatham that we have to consider, and we also have state funding for the sewer that is dependent on flow as well. So that's why I think anything beyond the 1 bedrooms to 2 bedrooms is, you're asking for more than we might be able to handle for the sewer flow allocation as well.
But see, if you do it for one, then you open up that door for other people to say, if we allow you have a septic system for 2 bedrooms, but we're gonna allow you 3. Now, what do we do for somebody else? So you've got to have regulations for a reason. If every time somebody comes before us and wants us to disregard those, then why have them?
I mean, I think this regulation there, you know, I care a lot about the environment in that area. I grew up swimming in the pond that is, you know, down water table from where my property is. I would like it to be protected. I'm gonna be the first in line to connect to the sewer. I've spoken to an installer already, and like, I've already started this process. I care a lot about protecting
But
this land.
that doesn't change the number of bedrooms.
What I don't understand is that the difference here is based on the year that my house was built. My septic tank is 1,500 gallons, like most other 3-bedroom houses in this town. The leach field is sized for the 2 bedrooms with a reserve area that could have been expanded.
Well, no, wait, let me ask you, so do we have anyone that has a septic system that's designed for 2 bedrooms that currently has been allowed 3 or more?
So you can't have an undersized system. The single-family home for nitrogen-sensitive designated areas, which was a code change in '95, they recognized that there was a nitrogen issue, so they addressed nitrogen loading rates. They focused on the water recharge areas because that's where our drinking water comes from. So the nitrogen loading is set for those properties. The single-family dwellings, 3-family dwellings with restrictions, so a 2-bedroom property in a MAP Zone 2 can design for 3 bedrooms because it says minimum design is 3 bedrooms. However, you can design for 2 bedrooms with a deed restriction. A lot of these 1-bedroom properties were required to have 2-bedroom septic designs because you cannot design a 1-bedroom septic system. So that's again why I feel it might be worth considering the 1 bedrooms to 2 bedrooms, because they were required to have an oversized system for what they were building. And I would, again, limit it to that if you have any indication of either approving this restriction or denying it.
So Ben, would you be willing to come back to us with a plan for 2 bedrooms?
Ultimately, I'm happy to come back as much as I need to and collaborate with the town, but I think what I'm asking, like, there's nothing stopping me today from having enough people in the house that it would be what 3 bedrooms is. If I have a number of people over, like, I'm not changing any construction, I'm adding a door to a room that exists and splitting another room that is frankly offensively large for a single bedroom into 2. And this is a house that I think is well positioned to support a family that wants to grow in Harwich. My issue if I was to have a kid tomorrow is not that I need to go find a house to buy. I'm lucky in that regard. There's a lot of people who don't have a house. My issue is that I can't put a door on a child's bedroom. Like that is the whole issue that we're talking about here. Every other house that abuts me is 3 bedrooms with 2 baths on a quarter of an acre. All of the houses just about in Great Sand Lakes on the other side of Queen Anne are quarter of an acre, 3 bedroom, 2 bath. There are not a lot of houses in the town of Harwich that were built after 95 that are 1 bedrooms. I went and did the research. It's roughly 50 properties, and I don't know where all 50 of those are on the septic plan. But I think for houses that are on a septic plan, you know, if we're willing to consider waivers for people who have failed septics to not upgrade their systems until they're on sewer and let them have an environmental impact for the next few years without having that be controlled, I think it's the least we can do to say for houses that don't meet what's considered a single-family home, to bring them up to that code. We have a very serious housing problem here. And this is one concrete thing that this board can do to help address that a little bit. I don't know if you've looked at the price of an acre of land or 3/4 of an acre of land lately.
That's not
for
what we're addressing here. That's not what we're addressing here.
That's the impact of what you're addressing here.
No, we're not. We are looking at you going from 1 bedroom to 3 bedrooms on a 2 septic system. And as far as I'm concerned, the regulations don't allow for that. Now, you might say maybe the other homes had other bedrooms, then maybe you shouldn't have bought that home. Now, because what you're saying, I don't mean that to be sarcastic. I'm just saying you're talking about, you know, a single family should have 3 bedrooms. That's immaterial. You bought one with 1 bedroom, with a 2 septic system, 2-bedroom septic, for 2 bedrooms. All I'm saying is I don't have a problem with you going to 2 bedrooms. I do have a problem with 3. Because if we open that door, how do we say to the next person, you can't do that? And then the next thing you know, we've got other people, maybe in the same position you're in, wanting to do the same thing. And we are constrained with the flow that we're going to have going to Chatham. So there's regulations for reasons, not necessarily to be nasty or to make life difficult. It's just the regulations are there for a reason. And if we don't stick to that, then there really isn't any point in having any.
My question about sticking to the regulation with Chatham, though, is, you know, the last meeting that I was here at, there was discussion about a 660 rule of how people can get 6 bedrooms on an acre and make changes or differences to this rule.
And we're not allowing that at this time.
Yeah.
That's new information to me.
Okay, yeah, that was the discussion at the last meeting, that we weren't capable of allowing that.
Yeah.
That would require further discussion with the Select Board and with the Water Wastewater Commission, and the Board of Health didn't have that authority to take it upon themselves. So more research is being done into that.
And the reason is because of the wastewater. That's why we wanted to bring in the water department and the Select Board, for that reason. So,
And that may change down the road, but that's not what it is currently.
yeah.
And if we get to a point where we're at full build-out and we have extra flow, the regulations may loosen, but at this point, we're not even at, I think, just at 50% capacity with the first phase that is able to connect, so. there's a
And
lot
all those
more.
people aren't
Absolutely
connected.
right about the housing crisis, but you have the house and you're living in it, so I don't think you can use that as an argument because you're already there.
As a single person today, not as a family.
Well, like I said, you can have 2 bedrooms.
Yeah, yes, please get up to the, and just state your name. Thank you.
My name is Robert Faldetta, and I'm in a very similar situation. But from what I've heard so far, if he was able to put in a 3-bedroom capable septic system, you're saying that he could still not go to 3 bedrooms because of this thing about the flow. But yet, I see houses all around Harwich, some that are new houses being built, and so they're allowed to flow into Chatham. And also, you have renters here, and you have Airbnbs, and you have 10 or 12 people, and I don't see anyone in the town restricting them. probably.
Can I just say something? As far as some of the new developments, all right, not all of those new developments are going to be on the sewer system. I have one right in back of me with 5 brand-new homes, and they are not going to be on the sewer system.
But I'm talking about, there's been single-family houses built on Queen Anne Road.
So
Not too distant past.
undeveloped properties were taken into consideration when they mapped out what flow would be needed based on the 4 bedrooms per acre. So they did look at those undeveloped properties to have put what they could fit for septic systems and to follow that 440 rule. So right now, all of the properties that are being connected to sewer fall within that map zone 2, so they're all restricted to 4 bedrooms per acre.
Okay, so can you answer me this? Within this sewer line, because I imagine this sewer line's gonna go down Queen Anne Road and hook up to Ben's Place and everything else, what would be the additional flow of all the deeded 1-bedrooms along this line that would go into Chatham?
Well,
under this
if Ben
scenario?
noted there's about 51 bedroom properties.
In
and
all of Harwich.
We bumped that up to an additional bedroom for the 1-bedroom properties to have 2 bedrooms. It would be
5,000.
5,000.
I mean, that's if it was all of them in Harwich, or 10,000 gallons if we're
But they
saying
might not
bump
all
them
be
up to
going
3,
to
but
Chatham,
they're not all,
or
but they're also not,
is
all those
everything-
50
These
are
are
not
all
in
gonna go
sewer.
to Chatham.
All the sewer lines in
Yeah.
Harwich are going to Chatham?
The ones that are currently approved will be going to Chatham.
What about
Other phases are not determined yet, because we're not there yet.
Okay, so potentially, if those other phases are not going to Chatham, then the number is not the all 50 that been identified. I don't know if they're all going to Chatham, because they're not all in this recharge zone.
And they might not all be connected to sewer. I don't know how you did your research,
that
if you
was-
just did an assessing poll.
It essentially was, I didn't actually go and look at map where everything is, but there are a
So
few
it's-
of them that are within, at least in my neighborhood area, that I know are on phase 3A. But it wouldn't even be all 50 of those 1-bedroom properties that would be getting moved up to.
So I think the flow allocation is very minimal for the ones that are to be sewered. 1 bedrooms to 2 bedrooms, but when you start to go 1 bedroom to 3 bedroom, then you gotta do the 2 bedrooms to 3 bedrooms, and that, I think that,
Well, I think it's pretty unfair that you're allowing Airbnbs.
that should
Is
be
it all-
registered with the town on a short-term rental and should be following their rental density permits that set a cap on them. So if they're not registered, they're operating outside of the town, and that's not our department.
Whose department is that?
The building department manages the rental density permits.
Okay, but they have okay, so if they have a residential density permit and they don't follow it, then they're going against the law, right?
Without a complaint, we assume everybody's following the rules. If we don't receive complaints, we got to assume that people are following the rules.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I know, so all we have to do is find enough people that are not following the rules so we can kick them out.
And
so
we're
we
not,
can have
we're not,
our
yeah, we're not
flow.
here to discuss rental permits. We're here to discuss the nitrogen loading limitations.
Right, but the thing is, this all has to do with nitrogen loading.
And you
Allowing
could
these-
argue in the same that for the other 6 months out of the year, that property is empty and not producing anything. So they might jam-pack them in there for 12 weeks out of the summer, but
But the thing is,
the other
but
nine,
that's-
6 to 9
And
months.
there's still, however, requirements for the rental agreement. And if at any point you see a house that's got a rental agreement and you think there's too many people in it, report it. You can't do anything about it until somebody does. But that's not our department either.
Right. Well, the other thing about, just this thing about during the winter, they're all gone. The most nitrogen loading you're gonna have is in the summer when they're all here.
It's,
Because in the
for a
winter-
single-family dwelling, it doesn't change. Your habits don't change, the way you do your laundry, the way you shower, the way you cook. In a rental property, like I said, you're getting heavy flows for a few weeks out of the year, and then you're getting none. So your overall nitrogen contribution could be reduced, but we don't have the science to say one way or another. So I don't think it's a valid argument unless there's something to back it up, one way or another, whether they add more nitrogen in the summer or they don't. I would say that.
Oh, you just look at the population in the summer versus in the winter. That tells you right there. Okay, thank you.
I think one other thing I would like to point out is, that I have taken additional measures to reduce the nitrogen load on my lot. Septic systems are not the only way that nitrogen's going into the ground, and there's hotly debated conversations, about whether it's the nitrogen in your fertilizer or the septic or whatever else is causing the most issues. In the last 2 months, I've removed all turf grass from my property, removing any need for nitrogen-based fertilizers to be applied at all. No more water runoff. Like, I'm taking other steps here to try and do what I can to, operate within the spirit of what this code is trying to accomplish, and that's to keep people healthy and keep people safe and, live, to produce nitrogen. I'm doing everything that I can possibly do to be in pursuit of that. I've explored the credit land approach that's been suggested. Most of that land is owned by the town. So if the town would like to take one of those parcels and say, hey, we're going to make this credit land available for people who aren't up to that standard 3-bedroom, single-family home, I would enthusiastically support that. And then there is, no exceptions being made, and the town would have
But your
the power to-
septic system is still only designed for 2.
If you look at the design on the septic system with Terry, is that her name? It was Terry and the health department who pointed out when we had our meeting last week or 2 weeks ago that it looks like the septic design has a reserve area that's enough space to add that I could have a leach field sized for 3 bedrooms. My tank is the same size as a tank that a 3-bedroom septic would have, a 1,500-gallon tank. It's not a 1,000-gallon tank. So I have the materials, I have the base, I have what I need here to have a 3-bedroom septic. There is the plan, there is the tank,
But you
there is.
don't have a 3-bedroom septic.
But I don't. I would gladly also do that too, if given the permission to do that. I would have a 3-bedroom septic and, increase the size of the leach field tomorrow if given permission to do so. But I haven't been given permission to do so. And I'm going to be on sewer in a couple of years, so that wouldn't necessarily make sense to do anyway. But, another point that's a little ironic, I mentioned this to somebody on the select board a few months ago, and the first response was, most people just put a door on and do it anyway, and then move it when they sell. And that's not the approach I'm trying to take here. I want to follow the rules. I'm trying to very carefully understand what they are. I've read every page of Title V. Carrie knows me by name because of how frequently I'm in the health department.
Ben has done his due diligence. I will say that, like I said, these conversations with Ben and I have been going on a very long time. And I wouldn't bring this in front of you if the state didn't tell me it was something you can vary. However, I would urge you to take and set some kind of cap on what you would be willing to entertain, because for every request you approve, there's gonna be more. And when you go 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 2-bedroom to 3-bedroom, 3-bedroom to 4-bedroom, I need my ADU. I'm at 5 bedrooms, but I need an ADU. And I agree that the housing crisis is an issue, and if we can find some relief from that some way, it's another public health issue we should entertain, but this is one that we have to really put some kind of control measure on, because there is no limit once you set your precedent. And then what's the point? So, if you can get up and, introduce yourself. Thank you.
Rachel Heppen. I live on Idle Way. What was the feedback from the state about this issue?
Can you
in
talk
terms
into
of
the microphone?
What were the rulings from the state on this issue?
So,
That were,
the feedback that I received is that unless it's spelled out in no variance shall be granted, which this is not, you can grant a variance from it. However, there are very specific restrictions outlined and a method around those restrictions through credit land and easements, very detailed within Title V, that I feel grants that relief by adding the credit land. I don't agree with the statement that this, if it was a restriction that was written in, a very detailed restriction, that it should be varianced. And no other community allows that variance. So nobody that I am aware of and other communities take this as a piece of the code that can be varied because the restrictions are so detailed and there is a mechanism for relief written into Title V through the easement and credit land process. And I think if you go back and ask people who wrote the 95 that are no longer at the state, they would have a difference of opinion.
Hard to follow.
It's a lot, it's very, it's a complicated matter.
How soon will sewage be in that area?
Maybe 5 years? So any further discussion from the board? Is anybody ready to make a motion? Another public comment? Oh.
Mara Costa. I am in a butter to Ben's property, 31 Sandy Lane. We've been there, owned it 25 years. So we've been through having to have a variance for our septic and so forth. And I'm here really not to be pro or con. I just didn't understand when I got the letter how you get relief. If you seek relief for this nitrogen loading, which I did read a lot about, what would he do to his property? Does anything happen to it? Or is it just a paper thing where it says he can be a 2-bedroom instead of a 1?
It would be a revised deed restriction, and
Okay.
then he would follow up with a building permit.
Okay, because I specifically remember when Lakeway Lane put on the market a strip of land from 802 Queen Anne in the back of his property and includes all of Ben's corner property. And there was something about 4 Lakeway Lane's leaching field that was going to be in that property, which is part of the reason only 1-bedrooms could be built on 802 Queen Anne and what is now 8 Lakeway Lane. So it's just confusing as to, I didn't know if his yard would have to be dug up. I didn't know. I mean, he has one of those, and I don't know any of the terms. Those pipes that come up, you know, for your venting or something, which is right behind my fence on the side. And the other thing which that gentleman spoke to, 4 Lakeway Lane is now a rental year-round with quite a few people. So I'm definitely going to put in a complaint there, because I've often wondered how they're all flowing into our their septic with that many people. 6 to 8 cars parked.
At least.
Yeah, I don't know the number per se, but that's my business to have to find out. So now that I know I can do that, that's great. But I just, I'm just concerned that, it could become, where, like you said, I know he's tried to sell it. I didn't know it was a 2-bedroom. I thought it was just a 1-bedroom as it was marketed. But to go to 3, I'm excited too about septic, but it's not going to be here around the corner.
Well, his is only 1-bedroom. now.
That's what I thought, yes. But the septic system is for 2?
The septic system is designed for 2.
Oh,
So
I
that's
see.
why,
See,
what
I
I'm
had
saying
a lot
is
of
I don't have
questions,
a
that's
problem
why I came.
going to 2 bedrooms, but not 3.
Right.
And I'm unaware of any easement on 8 Lakeway or 4 Lakeway, any easements restricting this property, because that paperwork would be in his file. So aside from the,
Yeah, I don't know what, I don't think, I just recall, and my husband and I even thought about purchasing that piece of property just to have, because there was issues with 4 Lakeway Lane, that house that was a 3-bedroom, and something to do with the septic coming into the property that was being, his leaching field being a part of it.
I'm not aware.
Maybe
Yeah,
that
we
was
didn't-
already.
We didn't look at 4 Lakeway, we're just looking at 8
Because that, well,
Lakeway.
that was who sold the 2 lots.
Mhm.
And his is one of them, yeah. So my husband would know better, but he's not around anymore, so, yeah.
Yeah, and if there was any easements that credit land was being used off Ben's
Oh.
property for, then it would be in the file, so
Okay.
it's not, we could look into 4 Lakeway and Queen Anne Road, but there's no further restrictions on Ben's property other than the map zone 2
Yeah, I didn't think
restriction.
it was a legal easement or anything. I just remember there was concern about
Yeah, I'd be concerned.
his
too.
leaching field
On
for,
somebody
not
else's,
his.
yeah.
Not his, yeah. Okay, like I said, I'm not pro or con, I just didn't understand the whole process. Okay, thank you.
Yes, no problem. Anybody else?
And I guess, Carrie, this would be a question for you, and kind of the only other, as far as spitballing ideas, there's, in here, there is the mention of IA technology being used, but it being expensive, and I know your comment, it looks like was to be, decommissioned. We do have allowances for new septics and people with IA technology not having to connect the sewer right away. I understand it might feel like a waste, and this is what I'm gonna ask you, the direct question, Carrie. If he were to put in an AI system, would that allow him 3 bedrooms, or is that still
He
restricted by
would
the
still be,
440?
he would still be undersized.
Okay.
So take out anybody who installs IA technology in a map zone 2, under the approvals, can have 6 bedrooms per acre versus 4. We're not entertaining those for properties to be sewered just based on previous discussions with water, wastewater, because they're gonna have to connect to sewer. But even based on the square footage of the lot on this property, it's undersized to be able to have,
Still be 2, even if it was.
it would still probably be 1. Because you need, I think, around 7,000 square feet to get a single bedroom and 14,000 square feet to get 2 bedrooms, and it's a 10,000 square foot lot. Please.
I'm Christina Hagopi, and I live at 82 Clearwater, which is a very short distance from Ben's home. I own 2 homes in the neighborhood. One is a 1,400 square foot home built in 1940 that was broadened to have a 3-bedroom septic. It's only 1,400 square feet, I'm going to remind you. I built 82 Clearwater on a half acre, and it's also only a 2-bedroom. And I'm here in support of Ben because I've never understood these rules and regulations around the size of the lot in comparison to how large the house is. My home is considered it's almost 4,000 square feet, and it's considered a 2-bedroom. The same, 1 bedroom is 2,200 square feet. These are unreasonable. And anyone that has these 8 and 10 people in the house with a 1,400 square feet is really what's going on in the town of Harwich. While we understand those regulations, we also want to really support the families that are growing here and that want to have and stay in Harwich. And I have been in this community. Ben is an active member of the community. In the last elections, he was there at every meeting. He's here for the future of Harwich, and these are the people that we want to keep here and stay here and grow families here. And I do think that the whole bedroom and septic size needs to be addressed to allow for that accommodation. One thing when we were building our house that both the conservation encouraged us to consider was zero nitrogen septic tanks. Have you considered that as an alternative to allow him to have the 3rd bedroom And if he didn't hook up to the sewer, that he could have an alternative to be a zero nitrogen septic.
So the only zero nitrogen septic is a tight tank, and it is a last resort for Title V. So we don't allow them to be installed unless
see.
you absolutely have no room for a full system.
I see.
So those are the only, and I don't even know that you could really call those zero nitrogen, because even those have to be pumped and distributed somewhere else. So they still have to, all of that, everything has to be taken and brought somewhere else. So
What-
zero nitrogen
The
doesn't.
way it was explained to us when we were offered to build it was that it would be tested every year and had pH tests, and as both the tank and the leaching field. And I know that the Harwich Conservation Board is promoting that, so there must be
Well,
something.
we'll have to have a conversation with them, because there is no zero nitrogen septic systems on the market. That, again, the tight tank is as close as you would get, and even that, I wouldn't call it zero nitrogen, because you still have to take that effluent and bring it somewhere.
It might be another term that I'm misusing,
So
but I
there's
can
nitrogen
find out.
reducing, which
Maybe
is the
that's what-
IA technology, which would, again, still has its own restrictions. So instead of 4 bedrooms per acre, people with IA technology are allowed 6 bedrooms per acre. So a half an acre would get you 3 instead of 2. So with the installation of IA technology. That's not something that historically the Harwich Health Department has leaned into up until recently, where we just follow the Title V, the DEP letters on IA technology, and now we allow that. But when we're looking at sewered properties, we have to think about it differently, because those are in a plan that go beyond Harwich regulations.
I understand.
Okay.
All right. So, I mean, I think with the sewer being planned for 2 bedrooms, that's what it is designed for,
Septic.
the septic. And I know you're asking for the 3 bedrooms. I'd be willing to approve this coming back as a 2-bedroom plan, if you're willing to come back and revisit us with a 2-bedroom plan.
So you could approve it tonight with a 2-bedroom deed restriction and modify the 1-bedroom to the 2-bedroom. And then when
Okay,
we get the
if we can
building
do that,
permit,
okay.
we can review the building permit for that.
I would be amenable to that as long as when we have moved toward, actually gotten closer to sewer, am I able to reapply again at that point if things have changed to go from a 2
That
to
would
a
not
3?
be through our department, that would be through water, wastewater.
And so, that is unfortunately something we don't have a total control over, but I believe from earlier discussion, the potential 660, the increase would be, that's where they would come in. And I know that was mentioned last month when you were here, and kind of why you were really hoping for this. And none of that is guaranteed, unfortunately, and it's not our purview to handle that. So with what we can affect here, I would certainly be willing to approve it if you were to come back with a 2-bedroom plan instead of a 3.
Or 2-bedroom deed restriction.
With a 2-bedroom deed
Modify the
restri-
deed restriction, yeah.
Okay.
I have the 2-bedroom plan is the same as is what's in your packet, minus the wall that got closed off. So it would just mean leaving the existing door and not adding.
So do we have to come back?
If you
No,
can
we can
approve it with
approve
a two,
it.
modifying his deed restriction from 1-bedroom to 2-bedroom. And that's, then when we get a building permit, we know it's a 2-bedroom deed restriction.
Do I need a building permit to add that door? Or can,
Not to add a door,
okay,
yeah, nope. So,
because I can just go to Home
If-
Depot for that.
if the property comes in front of us again, it will always be a 2-bedroom. Unless things change with water, wastewater, but that is a
And
ways out.
if and when that happens, please come back. Would love to, I agree. Housing's a problem here. There's no question. I work in nursing, and, I live here in Harwich. I work for Outer Cape Health. My office here in Harwich. We don't have the biggest problem staffing the Harwich office, but the lower paid positions, the medical assistants, say, our P-Town office, our Wellfleet office, they get a really, really hard time getting and maintaining those types of employees because they don't make top dollar, they can't afford to live here. So please come back if that changes.
It won't be the last you hear from me, I promise.
I would suggest an approval with the change for the 2D, the 2-bedroom deed restriction.
So I can make a motion
Yep.
that the property on 8 Lakeway is restricted to 2 bedrooms with no increase in habitable space or square footage without further review from the Board of Health. And an approval letter and conditions will be recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds.
Beautiful.
Second.
Vote?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Well-
We got a little ways, anyway.
Appreciate it.
Nobody yet. One more. 8 Cranberry Lane, or Cranberry Way, rather. Variance request from Town of Harwich Regulation, 1.210, 8 Cranberry Way, minimum setback requirements.
Do we have anybody present for 8 Lakeway? I mean,
Is
not 8
anybody here
Lakeway,
for 8 Cranberry Way?
The Cranberry Way, yeah. Nothing came to you before?
Nope. I mean, we have the full variance filing, so.
Yep.
Yeah, a butter notification for meeting scheduled August 19th.
Yep, yep.
So they are not present, so you can move to continue this to the next meeting.
I make a motion to continue it to the next meeting, if they apply again.
Yeah.
Anybody seconded?
Second.
Vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we already did the amendments, the dog-friendly space variance. Report from the health director. Carrie?
Right. So we have some grant updates. The health department was awarded $2,500 from Shaw's again this year to help fund the People's Fridge. We have applied for a $5,000 grant from Cape Cod 5 Bank to help us secure a greenhouse and another raised bed for the People's Garden. I did find out we were awarded the grant, but it was only for $500 for garden supplies, which will still help the program, so we are grateful for what was given. We have applied for $2,000 grant from United Ways to help us upgrade the People's Fridge, because the door does not close tightly and therefore temperature comes up too high for far too long, and we've had to discard food as a result. We were awarded $18,500 in grant funding through the FDA Food Standards Program to work on our food safety practices. With these funds, we were able to upgrade our food testing equipment and plan on hosting various trainings for our restaurants and conduct public outreach on food safety while we update our internal policies. And then we partnered with the Harwich Conservation Trust for a year 27 AmeriCorps member, and our application was selected, and we were awarded an AmeriCorps member to assist with the People's Garden. We did find out today that they're going to be starting October 13th, so it was a 3-day membership service. While the garden is not in full swing, we will probably only take them 1 day a week and let Harwich Conservation Trust have them 2 days a week. But we're excited for another partnership with AmeriCorps this year.
All right. Anything from you, Carrie, before we move on to permits regarding the email on 2 Rebecca
Yes.
Road?
So, One of the permits that is in front of you tonight for approval is a stable permit at 2 Rebecca Road. I won't read the email in detail, but there is concerns about the odor coming from next door. The stable is there, the horse is already there. We do plan on getting together with Jen Harrington, investigating this as a complaint and asking them to make any necessary changes that we see fit. But the next door neighbor is already expressing concerns over the smell of odor. They have stated that they've lived next to horses before, so this is not a new concept for them. It's just,
I mean, the stable's there, but was never approved previously.
so the stable through this discovery, the stable's there, the horse is there, it's been inspected by the animal control officer once already. We will figure out where the manure management plan, how that outlines, maybe the pile is too close to this person's property, maybe it needs to be relocated. It meets all setbacks as required in our animal regulations. So this might just be a management practice that needs to be looked at and modified.
Okay.
I have a question. If we accept the license for this, then what happens if they, and let's say you come across where the manure pile shouldn't be where it is, and they decide not to change it?
Then they'll be back in front of you to answer that question, why they're unwilling to make any changes.
All right, so then you're saying we should go ahead and approve it?
So if we go out and we don't gain compliance with making any necessary adjustments, we will call them in front of the board for a non-compliance hearing. So it will not be a license approval, it will be, you can make whatever requirements of them you wish to impose on their license.
So we approve this permit, the health department is still gonna go out and make sure that everything is being managed properly. This is being looked at as a formal written complaint, and it will be inspected?
Yep.
All right. Any motion to accept the permits?
I'll make a motion to accept the permit of the, sorry, where is it?
All permits, section 7.
It's, what is it?
It's part of the permits in section 7.
Oh.
I wanted to speak of this, at least get
I'm
the
sorry.
confirmation of that and know that it was gonna be counted and
Okay.
taken into account when we approve it.
Okay.
So it's just the regular permits.
Okay, I accept the permits as recorded on our packet.
Second?
Seconded, vote?
Aye.
Aye? Aye. All right.
I make a motion to adjourn? I can make that.
Seconded, anybody?
Came quickly.
Vote? Aye. That was what, all right. Aye.